Hello there. So previously I spoke about subjective morality, how the absurdities of subjective morality, the idea that morality can be something based on what you feel to order society, the absurdity of that. Today I'd like to get into feminism and age and how all these things really intertwine with one another, how they actually go from feminism being an idea for rights to actually causing our society to be actually immature from these ideas, not just feminism, secularism, and all these things piled upon each other, which they're all really connected. I'm Andrew Levy, and this is The American Dream. So my problem with feminism is an ideology that teaches that men and women ought to do all the same things, which is not true. Women ought to be mothers. They should be raised to be mothers. They should learn from their mothers how to be mothers, how to actually be there for their child. And the mother should actually be able to teach them because they've experienced it themselves. They've learned it themselves from their parents, generation after generation. You can understand, I need to nurture my child as such. I need to be able to be there as such. And women are more suited for it. You might ask, why doesn't the man stay home? Well, who's more suited for the job? Should me, who's a man, not as suited for the job, do the job that you're more suited for? What does a child need? The child needs and says they want their mother. Parents know this. The children generally want the mother over the father. There's some exceptions to this rule, whatever it is. The child literally needs the mother more anyways. The child has to be fed. You might say, well, we have bottles now, and you can get formula and this and that. But if you're physically made to do something a certain way, chances are that's probably the way you should go about doing it. And if you're not going to go about doing it that way, you should at least be present for it regardless. You should at least be there for the child. And you as a woman are more soft than men, more gentle, and can be more empathetic. There's things about women that men have. They have all these things, but not to the same extent, and not in a way where most children want their mother for a reason. They want their mother because the mother has all these things, that the softness and they feel more love from the mother in a way that the father just can't do. The father is a tougher guy. He can actually be working hard and actually making a difference for the family, for the better, by not being there and then being there when he can also. But it should be for the mother. Whoever's better suited for this job, which is usually the mother, then the mother should be there. That's just from a natural point of view. From a religious point of view, I think it holds true also that the mother's supposed to be there. The father, whatever. But what's happening in our society through feminism, the mother's going out working, she's neglecting her child. The father's going out working, and the child's just being neglected. They're raising babysitters, they're sending the kids to school, they're doing all these things where the children are neglected. This system is hurting our children, and it's really bad. We need to actually find a way where to bring it back to a time as it was, where mothers can actually just be home. The best we can do it. The problem is we have an economy that's so messed up that both parents kind of have to work. They're kind of stuck where in order to pay their bills and get by, they both have to work. It's just the reality of the situation. It's an awful situation. We should not be in this situation. The reason we're in this situation is because we have more secularism from the government dictating our money and telling us what we have to give them. And from that, they're hurting the economy more and more. So even if we all right now were to agree with this, unless we actually fix the government issue, we're not going to be able to get to this place where mothers can actually be home and be there for the children the best they can. Ones who can should be. They should be doing this. They should not be out there trying to achieve their dreams and their goals and all that stuff, because ultimately the most important thing in life, in a family, is the children. They come first. And ultimately, my belief is the father and the mother are there for each other as the most important things for one another. Then there's a child, and they're both their love for each other goes for the child, and then everything together as a family unit to serve God. That's my view of how a family unit's supposed to be structured. And based on the religious ideologies and how things are supposed to be, you base your life around that. So the father were to work, the mother were to be there for the children, take care of the home, do whatever it is that makes the most sense for a father to be doing and for a mother to be doing. It doesn't make sense for both parents to be out most of the time neglecting their children. This neglect is one of the highest forms of abuse we have going on. You have spanking, people would say is abusive. You have yelling, that people would say is abusive. I'm telling you, I think neglect is abusive. And they're abusive the same way when hitting a child is abusive and when screaming at a child is abusive. When they're abusive, neglect is abusive for the same reason. What makes hitting a child abusive? Is it the hitting? No. What makes hitting abusive is when the child has no justification. They have no idea why they're being hit. They're not able to make sense of anything. They walk away uncertain. They don't know. And they just feel it's unfair. I'm getting punished and it's not fair. And when children say this, the parents don't necessarily explain to them why it's fair. They don't explain to them how you did something bad and I'm going to actually, because you did the bad thing, you need to be punished. It's not fair. Well, don't do that. It's not fair to me, and it's not fair to yourself that you're behaving in a bad way, because bad things happen when you behave in a bad way. You have to parent your child. You actually have to teach them these things. You have to teach them what's bad, why they're bad, and make sure they really they get it. And if you need to punish them, you need to spank them, you need to do whatever it is. You need to scream at them for it. Just don't do it out of anger. It should always be because you're trying to do what's best for the child, and that's what you conclude is what's best. It may not be the best thing to do. But regardless, even if you're not doing it the best way you should be, if the child understands and it makes sense, then you're doing your job well with disciplining them. Neglect is the same conclusion. When you neglect a child, they're just not knowing anything. They're not learning anything. The parents aren't there to guide them, and they walk away as if they were just beaten for 10 years of their lives, or when they're an adult, 18 years of their life. It's as if they were abused, physically beaten, just humiliated, screamed at in public all the time, and done whatever from not doing anything and expecting. I see this all the time. Kids are doing what they're doing. Kids will be kids, and maybe when they're at the table, even when they're at the table these days, I've seen a lot of homes where the kids are just like not following by any rules. There is no actual rules. There's no order. There's no anything, and everything is chaotic. And then the kids grow up, and the parents wonder, I don't know what happened. I don't know why my child is just doesn't listen, isn't responsible, can't do things. I was able to do things when I was their age. Maybe because you had parents who were actually teaching you to do those things, and you decided your child will just learn it on their own, and you didn't actually teach it to them. So now these kids are more anxious, and they're getting hurt. And the feminism causing it, that, and between the economy and the feminism, the taxes, the government, whatever, between all of that, causing it that children don't even have parents. Their parents are there minimally. Of course, the children are going to grow up and be more immature. Children are all the time. You hear this all the time. Adults saying they have anxiety. It's like, of course you have anxiety. You've been neglected your whole life. You don't know anything. Your parents didn't teach you anything. When people are saying all these things, like they say it like it's something they were born with or something. It's like they're not realizing what they're saying is actually true. And a lot of people don't take it seriously. And the ones that do take them seriously, they just medicate them. They just say, oh, well, here's some anxiety medicine. But how's anxiety medicine going to help somebody not be anxious or get over the issues from being anxious for what's caused them to be anxious in the first place, just because they're not necessarily feeling anxious? They still don't know the things they didn't know because you gave them a pill. That's not necessarily, like, I'm not saying I'm over anxiety, but like I've had a lot of anxiety throughout the years, and I've gotten over a lot of different things that I used to be anxious about. Why? Because I grew confidence, and I grew healthier, and I was able to actually be more certain and confident about things and be more competent because of it, and be able to be more successful in my life and achieve more and more things I didn't even realize I can achieve, such as happiness and joy and different things that I can actually feel good about. And all these things came from learning things to make me less anxious, learning what I need to know to actually, I had to kind of like go through my own version of self-parenting, I guess you could call it, from advice from other people that I heard people saying wise things from listening to audiobooks and different podcasts and different things. And it made it that I was able to actually become less anxious. And this idea of being more anxious and having depression and having all these things, you have these things because you've been neglected. You've been through a life that was you being neglected and not able to learn all the things you needed to learn to be a success. That's you were failed by your parents, unfortunately, in life. And that's what's going on in our society at large, and feminism and the government and all these things, all the secular programs and the things we have going on in society are damaging and doing this to us. That's what's really going on here. Anyhow, that's all I got for that. Next, I want to get into this PragerU video on atheism and really delve into what this guy is talking about. He's not talking about atheism, obviously. He's talking about what's wrong with atheists and different things like that. I'd like to analyze this and go through where I think this guy may be falling short. All the best, and thanks for watching.